Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Thanks for everyone jumping in here on a Tuesday afternoon. Talk some betting picks and some odds for NFL, college football, baseball, whatever. We got you guys covered here. Got Jon Impemba with me today. What's up? What's up, John?
Not too much, Dan. Like I said, we're just kind of rolling along, getting ready for the start of some other sports soon, right? We got MLB coming to an end for the regular season this week. NFL is going into week 4. College football still happening, but we're about 2.5, 3 weeks away from NHL and then NBA right after that.
Yeah, we got the baseball season wrapping up last week of games here. And I'm sure next week, I think like Tuesday is when like the wild card games start up. So we'll have a betting preview and some maybe some futures picks on all these series that we have lined up once we know for sure.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement left to happen in the NL and the AL wild card. So we'll see if me and John will both be giving out some betting picks for tonight's games. And I know we definitely have some. You got to have the wild card standings in the back of your mind for some of these with players and teams still with stuff to play for. So maybe some teams, a little bit of tanking going on, but it should be fun. And the NBA and NHL season, we'll definitely have some guests to come on and ourselves to give out some bets and some futures for those leagues starting up, because that's always fun to dive into it. We'll see where Damian Lillard lands. If he's going to end up with the Raptors, I guess now, but we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, there's been some wild reports that Lillard has basically said wherever he goes, if it's not Miami, he's just going to be a problem, which isn't great, right?
Not ideal.
I don't really understand it. I think the NBA let it get a little bit too far with it being a players league, and the owners are trying to take some of that back. And you know what? They don't have to trade Damian Lillard. And if Damian Lillard wants to sit out the entire season, then he doesn't get any more tenure on his contract, and he continues to sort of be stuck where he is. They can put him on a reserve list and not have to pay him. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that could go on, and it's also sort of detrimental to the team if they do put him out there and he goes all James Harden fat suit on them when he was in Houston and almost is a detriment to the team, right, being on there. So it's going to be a weird situation when it happens if Portland starts the season with Lillard on their roster, because I don't think he's going to play. I think there's a good chance he sits out the year until he gets traded.
Yeah. It's kind of like one of those weird situations. If you're looking to handicap, the Trailblazers season or any of these teams that could get him, you kind of have to, maybe project all right, are they, you banking on them landing him, or are you banking on him sitting out some games for the Trailblazers?
Yeah, the most updated betting odds, I guess, yesterday that was reported was that if it wasn't Miami, the Boston Celtics actually have the second highest betting odds get Damian Lillard. So,
well, that would be certainly vaulting the Celtics up in the title odds too.
Yeah,
if they got
by all accounts, Jason Tatum has really been lobbying hard to get Lillard to Boston, but he just doesn't want to be in the city. Apparently, who knows? Whatever. But we'll see. Again, it's not the league needs to take back some of its control here and can't just let the players decide where they're going to play, because it's not great. I love that they implemented all those game played requirements now to be eligible for MVPs and all pro teams, because a lot of these players have contract incentives tied to those awards. So maybe you'll get to see those star players actually on the court for more than half the year now, instead of sitting out with these phantom rest injuries. So we'll see. But the NBA will be fun to talk about as we get closer.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the NHL season's starting up, as you mentioned. We got some of the preseason games going on, but that'll be cool to talk.
All eyes on Connor Bedard this year. Man has looked impressive in some of those training camp videos we've seen. So
gotta love the training camp videos.
He's picking corners like I've never seen anybody pick a corner. So the kid could be the real deal.
But we still have some baseball to talk about right now. So coming up in a little bit, me and John will give out some player props, some game picks for tonight's slate. a bunch of games going. I think a full slate of games. We got a doubleheader with the Dodgers starting up right now, but the Dodgers Rockies. But yeah, plenty of games to get to tonight. And tomorrow's show, we will be giving an early look at some NFL Week 4 lines and spreads. So definitely tune into that. Today, though, on the show, wanted to kind of take stock in some Heisman Trophy odds and some, the updated odds after a big weekend in college football, because we had a lot of marquee, matchups and results, some big time teams playing each other, and definitely some movement in these odds. So, we're starting out with the college football corner here. The Maryland Terrapins, Talia Tagovailoa is not in one of the top Heisman contenders, my Maryland quarterback, but that's all right. Yeah. Let's look at these odds, though, and because we got some interesting games coming up. I think it could be some good value on some of these guys.
Yeah, let me ask you. Obviously, the top two guys there on the board, Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, both at plus 350. How do you feel that breaking out? Obviously, Caleb Williams is trending towards being the no doubt, unquestioned number one pick in the NFL draft, assuming he does actually go into the draft, because he's basically said that if it's not the right team, he won't go into the draft. But thoughts on Williams and Penix here?
Yeah, it's I'm not surprised that Williams has been at the top here still. I said this before when we were talking Heisman odds maybe a few weeks ago, that, there hasn't been a back-to-back Heisman winner since Archie Griffin with the Ohio State Buckeyes in the 70s. It's just something that doesn't happen. Williams does have a real shot to be the first back-to-back winner, though, since Archie Griffin. So I'm not surprised at these odds. I wouldn't bet him because it's just the simple fact that, sometimes these voters have these kind of underlying thoughts and underlying mindsets of we don't want to give the guy back-to-back trophies. We want to get a new face in there. It is interesting, though, two Pac-12 quarterbacks at the top here. The Pac-12 is legit, even though it's going away in the next couple of years. But this year, the Pac-12 quarterbacks, Bo Nix is at the top of those odds too. But Caleb Williams versus Michael Penix, we're getting this matchup coming up in early November. November 4th is when these teams are facing off. It's at USC there. And that's when whoever wins that game will become, I think, the true betting favorite, just as a simple fact of the result. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I know that much. And both guys are going to be putting up stats from now until then. Again, it's November 4th is that game. So we got a full, couple months here of just or a month and a half of these guys putting up mind-blowing numbers as they already have this season. Michael Penix is legit, though. This Washington offense, he's got 3 NFL caliber receivers at his disposal. Sure. Caleb Williams, too, has a lot of talent there, and these guys are just going to be lighting it up every single week. So the value, would be on Penix here, even though he's risen up the odds here. But I still think if you want to bet on one of these betting favorites between Williams and Penix, just the history suggests that Williams isn't going to do it back-to-back years. Sure. Penix also, if you want to jump on it now, his odds might shorten in a couple weeks. They got a big game against Oregon. Same thing with Bo Nix for that matter, if you want to bet on him. But Oregon, Washington, we get that in a couple weeks here. And the winner of that one, whether it's Penix or Bo Nix, their odds will shorten for sure. The other guy might slip down. So that's kind of a upcoming games for Penix to keep an eye on if you want to jump on it now before other games. If Washington wins both of those games against Oregon and USC, then Penix will certainly quickly become the favorite over Williams.
Nothing more surprising than what Oregon did to Colorado this weekend, I'm sure. I think many assumed that hammer was going to meet the nail at some point.
Yeah. Listen, on Thursday's show, I gave out Oregon minus 21. I mean, it was just one of those things. If you aren't blinded by the hype, then what was going to happen in that game.
When they struggled against Colorado State, you knew they were going to be in trouble against Oregon, right?
We got a really good one this weekend, USC against Colorado. The total in that one is at 74. It should be a very high-scoring game. It's in Colorado, though, so who knows? They can make that one interesting. But again, the spread.
They'll have The Rock come back and be on the field for them there.
The spread in that one is also 21, though. So we'll see.
We'll see. So not going Caleb Williams or Michael Penix. What are the next two guys for you in the Heisman contenders?
I like Jordan Travis because he just got a big win again. We saw Florida State beat LSU pretty handily to open the season, and that really put Travis as a real Heisman contender on the map. They just got it done on the road at Clemson this past weekend, where Clemson could have and maybe should have won that game, but Florida State survived. And you look at the rest of Florida State's schedule. Their toughest games, I mean, they play Duke, which has been an up and coming team in a few weeks here. They get Miami, but both those games are at home. If you kind of pencil in a Florida State win for those, then they wrap up the season on the road at Florida in a rivalry game. But Florida State is a real shot of going undefeated this year and going into the college football playoff with an undefeated record. And if that's the case, it's going to be on the back of their really good offense and Jordan Travis. So, he's at plus 1,300 here on those odds. A little further down, I'd rather take a shot on him still. I mean, he was a guy I threw out a few weeks ago, but still, I think his odds should be shorter than this. And, coming up, as I mentioned, we got, Williams against Penix. We got Penix against Nix. If some of these guys start losing a game here and there, all of a sudden Jordan Travis is going to be in that, top three of the odds, I think. So I think there's still value on Jordan Travis there. And then the other guy is Quinn Ewers, the Texas quarterback, because Texas got it done. And he already had one of his Heisman moments of leading that win over Alabama a couple weeks ago, which is a marquee win, one of the best wins of this year. In 2 weeks, though, so this week they have a game against Kansas. They should win that at home, but in 2 weeks they get a really, another marquee matchup against Oklahoma, that Red River rivalry game. And that's going to be one of those where it's him versus Dylan Gabriel, and it's going to be another high-scoring game. If Texas wins that, they also have a real shot at winning out the rest of the season. That's their toughest game left on the schedule. And if Texas, another team where if they go into the college football playoff undefeated, they're Big 12 champs, Quinn Ewers is going to be a main reason why. They have a good defense. They have really good talent around him. But similar to Jordan Travis, I see those guys as just, they're both those teams where they're going to be the headliner on a possible undefeated conference champ going into the college football playoffs. So I think there's a good shot at both of them being, college football finalists in the Heisman Trophy odds. Maybe they don't win it, but, you always get those 3 or 4 guys invited to the trophy ceremony. I can see both of them being there. So I think there's value on Ewers and Jordan Travis for sure right now.
All right. When we first did this a couple of weeks ago, we saw Shedeur Sanders fly up the board. Obviously, he's taken some steps back since then. If we are looking at some dark horses, though, where are you looking to go?
Yeah, listen, I think the slipper is off on Shedeur Sanders and Colorado after you just can't lose by, basically 40 points to Oregon and still expect to win. I mean, listen, he's going to put up numbers the rest of the way, but you can see his odds now plus 8,000. They're just begging people to lay some money on that and take some free money on Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion. A couple dark horses, though, I will throw out. One is Kyle McCord, plus 3,500 for Ohio State. Ohio State, another team that got a huge win this past weekend on the road at Notre Dame. And it was just one of those things where, okay, Ohio State got past that. They have a couple other matchups here against, later in the season against Penn State and Michigan. And if they win those, there's a real shot that Ohio State is another team that's going to go into the playoff undefeated as the Big Ten champs. And if he wins, this is probably the shortest odd or the longest odds you're going to get on McCord right now before he, maybe wins at Penn State and maybe wins against Michigan, because if he wins those, his odds will shorten for sure. But, McCord he hasn't really lit it up, but he still has, Marvin Harrison there, Emeka Egbuka, really good offense that I think is starting to click now, starting to gel. McCord wasn't named the official starter out of the season for Ohio State. There was a couple guys in there, but he's won the job and leading this road win at Notre Dame this past weekend. Even though he wasn't, excellent in the game, he did win. he did lead the game-winning drive at the end of the game. Could be one of those, Heisman moments where we look back, all right, he did it. And from now until the rest of the season, he could be really starting to gel more with, putting up big numbers with Harrison and Egbuka. So, he's a guy I think there's value on plus 3,500. I think that's too low for if you just kind of put like the label of Ohio State quarterback. I mean, this time last year, he's not as talented, but CJ Stroud is, obviously a better quarterback, on paper than Kyle McCord, better talent. But if you just kind of think of like, all right, last year at this time, CJ Stroud's odds were a lot shorter than Kyle McCord's. So if you think about
Stroud's
it that
looking
way,
good at the NFL level right now too.
He's looking good. Yeah.
Wasn't sure how he would look behind that offensive line, and the offensive line is still an issue for Houston, but he is slinging it right now. So.
Yeah, and Ohio State quarterbacks have not gotten the best rep in the NFL ranks. So the other one I'll throw out, or two more I want to give you. One is Cameron Ward, the Washington State quarterback, also at plus 3,500. Another team that, he's flying under the radar. People have kind of expected Washington State to lose a game or two by now, but he's got good wins over Wisconsin, and then they just beat Oregon State. I think there's a shot where Ward and Washington State's really, surprising teams the rest of the season. He's like a dual threat talent. He's got a really good arm and an offense that's going to, again, be scoring like 40 to 50 points most weeks because their offense is so high powered. And he's a guy I think is going to start climbing up the board as Washington State wins more games here. And getting the win over Oregon State, I think, is legit because we know this team is now more for real. So that's just kind of my vibe of, I think he's just a nice buy low candidate right now that I think we should be taking more seriously. Again, let me just pull up Washington State's schedule because they also, as I mentioned, all these Pac-12 quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, they all have to face each other more or less the rest of the season. And we have UCLA this week for Washington State, but they get a matchup with Bo Nix in Oregon, and then they ended the season, they get a matchup with Michael Penix in Washington. And that's a game where all of a sudden, if Washington State pulls out that win over Washington the end of the year, we're looking at Ward being a real legit possibility for the Heisman. So I think he's a guy you can't ignore right now. And then the other one is, a similar vein to some of the guys I mentioned, where it's a nice buy low spot because they're starting to rise, but people don't really know if they're for real or not, is Drew Allar for Penn State. Also at plus 4,000 odds on BetMGM. Another guy that, Penn State's got matchups against Ohio State and Michigan coming up. They have just been reeling off wins. They handedly beat Iowa this past weekend. I think that's another team where we're going to look up, and this is going to be if they do get past Michigan and Ohio State, which they're two tough tests, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for both of them for him to go undefeated too this year. And Allar's been, his arm talent is really showed out this season. So I think he's another dark horse to kind of keep in the back of your mind. And you could buy low on it now, because if he does get some of those big wins, then his odds will shorten as well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one.
We got James Grande, I think, trolling us in the chat here on YouTube. Appreciate you watching, but he says, what's Deion's odds to win the Heisman after they beat USC? Yeah, I think people just think they want to bet on Deion either way, and don't realize, oh wait, it's his son Shadur Sanders.
And he's got his other son that's the cornerback, right? So
he does.
Number.
Yeah. We'll see if Colorado beats USC this week. That would be a bigger upset than what they did against TCU. That's for sure.
I'll answer the fantasy football question we have in there too for our Twitch friend here. Kamara or Rashad White? I would go Kamara this week. We'll just get that one out of the way.
Yeah, Kamara's back from suspension.
Yeah, back from suspension. So
no Derek Carr. They probably give him the ball a lot.
Yeah, they got Jameis in there, but I figured Tony Jones and Kendrick Miller prove that they cannot run the football. So expect a lot of Kamara there.
Or Taysom Hill for that matter.
Yeah.
All right, so there's just some of the Heisman odds. It's nice to take like a stock in it a few weeks apart. So a couple weeks here, a few weeks, we'll see some other results and see guys rising or falling down these Heisman odds. So really interesting to track week to week. All right, let's turn the page to baseball tonight and look at some baseball bets and some props for tonight. So what is your best bet tonight? I know why you're going here. I almost went there too, but I was going to leave this for you.
We're going Jose Urania over 2.5 earned runs. All right, listen, the man sucks. I don't care what happened last time. Honestly, it was probably our fault because the Washington Nationals are not a great offense at this point, and I was just a believer in them being the ones to put it over on Urania, and he gave up a leadoff triple in that game to CJ Abrams, and he did not allow a run in that first inning. And then 2 innings later, he gave up another leadoff triple, and the run never came in. So we had our opportunities to get the over 2.5 earned run against him at plus 100 against Washington. He's on the mound. It's plus 110 tonight. It's over 2.5 earned runs. But now it's the Diamondbacks, a much better offense with a lot more talent up and down that lineup here today. Again, going into that last start, he was allowing a 700 slugging percentage to both lefties and righties. That's only gone down just a little bit. So I'm going to still continue to roll out here. Jose Urania over 2.5 earned runs at plus money with the Diamondbacks tonight.
Listen, yeah, he's facing a Diamondbacks team that's fighting for a wild card spot too. Mm-hmm. Like the offense has to show up and take advantage of this matchup. This is a game they have to win if they want to become stay in that race with the Marlins there. Yeah, I'm all aboard that one. 2.5. Take the over.
He's not that good. You just can't. If he shuts them out again today, then fine. I'll be wrong, but whatever. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, and at plus money, go for it. I'm rolling with the Chicago Cubs here, another team right in the middle of the wild card race, and I think this is a game they can get at Atlanta, which obviously is scary, but I think that's why on the surface that's why they're underdogs here. But I'll gladly take them at plus money on the money line, plus 124 on DraftKings. The Cubs just right now, I think they're coming in with momentum. They just swept the Rockies over the weekend, coming in on a little winning streak, and they're tied with the Diamondbacks. They got to keep winning to hold off the Marlins and Reds in this wild card spot. They got Bryce Elder on the mound against for the Braves here. Started the season strong, but he's really regressed. He's got a 4.74 ERA since the start of August, a 4.57 ERA since the start of September. He's allowed 4 runs at least in 3 of his last 5 starts coming into tonight. The Cubs offense is crushing right-handed pitching right now. Over the past week, 378 WOBA, 233 ISO in this split. Also, Elder's got trouble with his walks and has a low strikeout rate, which the Cubs offense over the past week, low strikeout rate and high walk rate. I think this could be trouble. Cubs scored 7 runs off of Elder in early August, so they have that going for them. They know they can get to him. So I like the Cubs money line here. The only part that does scare me, obviously, is the Braves offense, which is always tough to bet against. But I think Justin Steele, he's coming off 2 bad outings, allowed 6 runs in both of his last 2 outings. I just think I'm betting on his talent to kind of turn the page, get a good start here. Even with those bad starts, he has a 281 FIP since the start of August. Yeah. So I'm looking for the Cubs with their ace on the mound to get a win here, though, a win that they have to stay in this wild card race.
Yeah, we got our guy Miguel Rojas in chat bringing out Matt Olson, 1.5 total bags and a home run. My only worry there, obviously, is that's a lefty-lefty matchup. Steele going up against Olson. I know Olson's handled lefties fairly well this year, but obviously so is Steele. Steele's held them down pretty well this year as well. So definitely a little bit of a risk. But, yeah, if Steele's struggles continue, it's not out of the realm of possibility for Olson to take anybody deep. Yeah. It's just obviously not the best spot for him to do. So I like Bellinger against Elder probably a lot more than I do Olson against Steele tonight.
Yeah, and the other one he had is the Soto home run too with the Olson. Yeah, I mean, coming up in just a couple minutes here, I will give out a bet on the Padres offense. So I do think I'm on board with the Soto home run against Kyle Harrison. Yeah. I do think they get to him tonight.
That's another lefty-lefty, though. So
it is. Yeah, true.
So not the right split.
Michael Rojas going with the two lefty on lefty matchups.
Yeah. If it was Kyle Tucker, I'd give it a consideration, but yeah. Next bet for me here, we're going to actually stay with two pitchers in the same game. Kevin Gausman over 7.5 strikeouts and Michael King over 5.5 strikeouts. King's been a strikeout machine here over the last 4 or 5 outings for him going over these totals. And then Gausman has had double-digit strikeouts in all 3 games against the Yankees this season. So we're going to roll here with Gausman and King over the strikeouts tonight.
Yeah, I looked at his strikeouts because Gausman's strikeouts for that matter, because he had like 11 or 10 in his last start against the Yankees, right? But like I think coming off back-to-back starts against the same team had me a little worried, but I certainly get the bet here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's just dominant, like absolutely shut them down this year. Obviously breaking down the DFS slate gives you like a little bit more of that like perspective. And I get the worry about back-to-back matchups here. It's just that, I don't know, that Yankees lineup doesn't have much left in it. And he has 31 strikeouts in 20 innings against them this year. He's allowed just 2 total earned runs against them this year. So, it feels just like another spot where Gausman's just going to hammer this lineup. And it's only 7.5. It's not like it's 8.5, 9.5, something like that. 7.5 feels doable given his success here.
Well, yeah, and he's facing, as you mentioned, the Yankees lineup that's they got nothing left to play for here, and the Blue Jays and Gausman have everything to play for. So, all right, I'm going with I mentioned the Soto home run that Rojas likes. Give me the Padres team total over 4.5 plus 104 on FanDuel. They got Kyle Harrison on the mound. He's looked solid in some starts. I think he's a promising, young pitcher. And I've bet it on him a couple times already, but I'm fading him here because the Padres are hammering. I repeat, hammering left-handed pitching lately. Over the past week, I don't know if you've seen these numbers, John. 562 WOBA, 419 ISO against left-handed pitching over the past week. Over the past 2 weeks, 483 WOBA, 316 ISO against left-handed pitching. This is just a bad spot for any left-handed starter. And the Padres just scored 1 run last night against the San Fran in the loss, but I think the bat's going to wake back up tonight with a chance to get another game on the Giants, get another game. As long as they're still alive, they're barely alive in the wild card race, but as long as they are, I'm betting against betting on their bats at least to come alive again, because they faced Harrison earlier in September too and scored 6 runs off of him. I think they get to him again here. And Harrison, he's got elite strikeout potential, has already flashed it this season, but he also has a 5.68 FIP this year, 4.85 ERA too. The Padres, I think, are going to get to him here. So give me their over on their team total.
Yeah, look at they have a lot of guys that hit lefties, as you mentioned. Ha-Seong Kim hits lefties. Machado hits lefties. Xander's starting to hit the ball. Tatis hits the ball. Campusano hits lefties. Even Soto, as good of a hitter as he is, is certainly capable of doing damage against lefties here. So, yeah, it's a very dangerous lineup when you're a southpaw going up against them. So I like it.
Yeah. You got another pick, I think, fading Jose Urena.
Yeah, listen, we're just going to, why not, right? Get D-backs team total over 4.5 earned at minus 130 tonight. So, again, if the team total is 4.5 minus 130 in the over, and the starting pitcher that they're opposing is just 2.5 earned at plus 110. So, are they going to score on the relievers then for the White Sox? Is that what they're suggesting here? I'll take my chances on them going over against Urena here tonight at the 4.5.
Oh, yeah. I'm all aboard that one. We're all picking some teams that are still alive in the wild card races, I noticed. So definitely a theme here. Another one I'll throw out here. Going with the Boston Red Sox. I'm sorry, John, but I'm fading them tonight.
Don't be sorry. They're trash.
Well, maybe you'll agree with this one. Their team total under 3.5 here, minus 102 on FanDuel. They got the Rays tonight. Zach Eflin on the mound. He's been really good. 2.68 ERA, 2.59 FIP over his last 7 starts in this past month. The Red Sox really struggling against righties, only a 2.84 WOBA, 2.20 batting average, 71 WRC plus over the past 2 weeks against right-handed pitching. And after Eflin, I think he has a good start, but the Rays have all their top relievers available for this one. And I think they're going to want to deploy as much as possible to just limit the damage for the Red Sox, get the win, because they're still 2.5 games back of the Orioles in the AL East standings. And as long as they are still alive in that AL East, they have a wild card locked up. But as long as they're alive in this division, I think they're going to go for it. So this is a game I think they're really going to want to shut down the Red Sox offense. The Red Sox have scored 3 or fewer runs in 6 of their last 9 games, too, coming into tonight, averaging just 2.6 runs per game in this stretch. And as you know, because you're in that area, we should have some pitcher-friendly conditions at Fenway because we got temperatures in the 50s and the wind blowing in 5 to 10 miles per hour. So just all pointing to a lower scoring game overall, but I'll just take the Red Sox team total under.
Not only that, the Red Sox are going to generally have a lot of lefties here in their lineup, which is not what you're looking to do against Eflin here. 206 batting average, 250 WOBA for left-handed hitters against Zach Eflin is actually worse against righties. So him being a reverse splits pitcher with the Red Sox going to be a pretty lefty-heavy lineup tonight. Again, you would think that MLB managers would have these analytics at hand, but you're going to see like Abreu probably and Verdugo and Yoshida and Devers obviously, and like they're just going to have a bunch of lefties in their lineup. There's nothing they can do about it, and that's just not how you want to attack Eflin. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're on board with that.
Yeah. Again, I know what the team is. So they're not good. They're already out, and it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. Hopefully, I looked at the full game under here too, but hopefully it's just one of those, 3-2 wins for the Rays. I'll take that. By the way, check out the MLB DFS playbook that's up on Fantasy Alarm right now. And you can do that with the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription. If you haven't already, go jump on that. Free 7-day trial to the All-Pro subscription. You can get all of our DFS content and NFL picks for week 4 over there for free. If you get the All-Pro subscription, you go scan that QR code. You can go to fantasyalarm.com/NFL to also get that free 7-day trial and get on tonight's DFS action. Get your fantasy football advice for this upcoming week. A lot of waiver wire targets out there, but later in the week we got all the DFS coaches and DFS playbook best bets for week 4. So you definitely want to get on this now before the weekend. Mm-hmm. All right, short show for us today, but only some baseball picks, and again we talked some Heisman odds in the beginning of the show. If you want to rewind or go listen back and watch that, coming up after us, 5 p.m. Eastern. Here on Bettor Sports Network, we got the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show with Jon Impemba and James Grande. 6 p.m. Eastern, Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast with Matt Sells and Colby Conway. Then 7 p.m. Eastern, Tour Junkie show with David Barnett and Pat Perry. So keep it locked here on YouTube with Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTubes. Appreciate everyone tuning in here on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, Bettor Sports Betting. Me and Howard Bender will be talking some early NFL Week 4 odds and lines and giving out a couple baseball picks too, because why not? Tune back in tomorrow. Good luck with all your picks tonight. Good luck, John. Hopefully Jose Urena blows up like he should, right?
That's the hope.
All right, everyone. Good luck, and we'll catch you guys later.